Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Carrie and this is Book for Romance. If you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. I'm so excited. February's here, so that means January, we need to wrap it up. And I'm excited to show you guys what I read for the month of January. Now, going into this video, I want to let you guys know that number one, I did this video on the fly of like whenever I finished the book, I tried to record my thoughts on that book. But I felt like it was the best way for me to give you my honest opinion and not forget the books, because I have to admit that if I waited till right now to film this whole thing, the odds are I would have forgot most of the stuff at the beginning of January, because I tend to do that. I read so much in a year, and the books that really don't stick with me, they'll fly right out. So I ended up doing that, and then I did my 3 points of plot, rating, and if I would recommend it to a friend. I'm pretty sure I did that mostly at the end. Maybe I might have done it a little at the start, but I'm going to start doing that from now on. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. If you like any of this content, please give me some love and like and subscribe, and maybe throw a little comment down there of what you read in the month. So anyways, let's get to it. So I want to talk to you guys about Together We Burn by Isabel, Ibanez? I hope I said her last name correctly. This book was so adorable. I actually really loved it. It's a YA fantasy romance, and it's really so cute. It's very, I don't want to say basic, because basic makes it sound like bad, but a basic story about a girl trying to save her family and a boy that helps her get there. I mean, that's pretty much what like the overall lying plot is about. But we have our girl Sorella, and she comes from a line of, I want to say, okay, I'm going to call them Dragadoras, which is bullfighting, but with dragons. So her dad is a famous Dragadora, and her mother was a famous flamenco dancer. Now she takes after her mother. So she has developed the skills to become a very famous flamenco dancer. Well, something happens in the very beginning where her dad is fighting a dragon and doing the whole Dragadora situation. And unfortunately, all of her dragons get released. All of her dragon trainers get killed. And then she comes to find out that dragons have been killed in her dungeon as well. Well, during this whole event, her dad ended up getting injured as well. So she gets called in by the magistrate, and the magistrate explains to her, like, your dragons are out in the loose. They've called mass destruction. You need to pay all these fees, and you need to make this right. But unfortunately for her, since her mother had passed tragically, her father hasn't been the best with finances. So now she's on the hunt to not only save her family, but try to figure out who is sabotaging her family. It was really sweet. It was really cute. I really enjoyed it. What else can I say about it? It was original. It was original. Like, I've never read anything else like this. When I say it was simplistic in the plot, it was very easy to follow. I did end up rating this a 4.2 stars, which I really did. I did enjoy it. It did have some spice in it, so it did have the spice if you are looking for that. But keep in mind, it's YA. So don't roll into it thinking it's fantasy, romance, adult, and all the things are there. So it's very, spice levels probably about 2.5 out of 5. So I really did enjoy this. This was really a good book. I loved the cultural aspect to it. I felt like I learned things from it, which was really cool. He had great representation of the Latina heritage, and I loved every minute of it. It was really sweet to watch their romance, and I really did enjoy it. So that's Together We Burn. Okay, book 2 of my month, okay? just to let you know, I just finished this last night. It was The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Let's start off with the premise and then I'll tell you guys what I thought of it. We have our main heroine, Aurea, and she is a human. And when she was very little, she was adopted by the vampire king. So he came to her village and ended up, I think, killing everybody but her, and ended up adopting her because of her spirit. Well, then he ended up raising her, and there are these trials every year that happen. And her and her father decided for her to go in these trials to get a wish. And the reason why she wants this wish, so she can survive in their vampire world. Because she is a human, she is considered very weak. And since they are so fast, agile, and pretty much have a lot of power, she wanted to enter these trials to get some of that power. I would have to say the fantasy part to this was amazing. Like, think Hunger Games meets A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas meets Divergent with all the different houses. It was just so well written and good and very easy to follow. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. It was really, really good. I did end up enjoying the romance. I like maybe a little bit more romance in my fantasy, but there was quite a bit in there. So yes, there's a lot of twists. There's a lot of turns, especially at the end. For me, the beginning was a touch slower, but I get that with fantasies because they're world building. They're kind of setting the premise. They're setting like what needs to happen in the world itself. But it was very Sarah J. Maas how she writes, where she sets up the whole world and then the awesome things happen at like the 50% mark and back. So I did like that a lot too. But yeah, it was definitely a 5-star read. I'm being overly critical because I love fantasy romance so much. But yes, our hero, Rain, he was really good too. I really enjoyed his character. I can't say a lot about him because the mystery about him is what makes the book amazing. But yes, that is pretty much the premise of The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So anyways, moving on to my next book, guys. Hi guys. Okay, I've read book 3 this month. This month I have read, The Kingdom of Stars and Shadows by Holly Renee. I'm going to scoot over just a smidge and put it right here. Okay, so first I'm going to give you the premise. We have our main heroine, Adara, and she is betrothed to our crown prince, Gavriel. And she has been betrothed to Gavriel all her life. Her parents have pretty much sacrificed her because she's a star-blessed human. So I guess this is very desirable because something in her blood allows her to amplify their powers. Because in Gavriel, the Prince Gavriel's world, there is fae, there's vampires, and apparently there's some sort of war going on. Well, she goes to this wedding because she's betrothed to Gavriel, and during this time she ends up meeting his brother, which is Everin, and she ends up kind of noticing Everin. I'm gonna leave you at that because honestly I feel like if I tell you anymore it's gonna be spoilers and I don't want to spoil it. So honestly I'd have to say, first I'm gonna go with rating. I think I'm gonna give this between a 3.8 and 4 stars. It was very character driven, so like most of the story was not so much about the plot as much as her decision on like the romance. And with that being said, the plot really just picked up around like the end, like the 90% mark is where the plot kind of took shape. And for me, I don't mind character driven books when it comes to like my contemporary and even like my historicals. But when it comes to like my fantasy romances, there needs to be quite a bit of plot in there for me. And when it's basically just character driven, I'm not a huge fan of that. So that's why I kind of got the lower rating. Will I be reading book 2? Absolutely. Like it left me to where there was a big twist at the end and I really did appreciate that. So I will be reading book 2. I feel bad for this book because I read it after the, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And that book was just so phenomenal. And it's so funny because that one was so much more plot driven. And I'd say the romance of that one was secondary, but I loved the way she did that so much that this one kind of followed. So I feel bad for it because it was following such a stronger book. So I didn't want to be too hard on it, but at the end of the day, yeah, I think 3.8 is where I'm going to be with this one. And I'm excited for book 2 though. We'll see how book 2 turns out. But yeah, during book 1, I was super frustrated. There was one scene in this book where it was, I wouldn't even say dubious consent. There was definitely a violation of someone's person, and it wasn't sexual assault, but it was definitely a violation. And I did not love that. So be aware of like a non-consent something happening in this book, but it wasn't sexual assault, but still I didn't love that. So I'm throwing that in there for you guys to know. It's not really a spoiler so much as it is just making you guys aware. So anyways, that was my 3rd book of the month. Moving to the next one. Okay. So book 4 of my month is Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt. This lovely book was recommended to me by Caitlin, the Love Librarian. I'm doing that 12 friend book challenge, and this was the first one from the 12 friend book challenge. I'm really excited that this was recommended to me by Caitlin because 1, I love her, and 2, actually, I'm excited to talk about this book. Give an overall plot. It's pretty much about comedians, which is really interesting. You have our main heroine, Farley, and you have our main hero, Meyer. And Meyer used to be a major, like, famous stand-up comedian. And it kind of, the reason why this story is so interesting is because it bounced back from present to past. So you get a lot of backstory in between each of them. But the way they meet is pretty much, Farley is, like, trapped in this, like, thunderstorm, and she bounces into like this bar that she used to do stand up for or whatnot, and she runs into Meyer, and he's actually throwing his daughter like a birthday party, and they end up kind of like hitting it off there, and then Meyer ends up being Farley's agent. And it kind of develops from there. There's a lot of angst. There's a lot of comedic fun, I guess is a good way to put it. It's very original. I've never read a book like this. But anyway, it's pretty much where Farley's career is about to take off, and she's going with a bunch of women to do all this stand-up, and they want to think of a gimmick for Farley. So they become more like intrigued about her becoming a stand-up comedian. So they create this fake dating trope with Meyer. It goes from there. I really did like the idea of this book. Rating on Goodreads, I definitely gave it a solid 4 stars. The only things I'd have to say, there's 2 things I had to say, were one, where the writer tried to put jokes in here, and I was just like, the jokes are kind of cheesy. I had to say, like, if I would do it again, I would probably recommend to the writer maybe not throwing in the jokes or getting like a comedian to help you with those jokes. If you're going to put jokes in a book, like I was trying to laugh along with the jokes, and they were a little bit too cheesy for me. And then the second thing is that I felt like their relationship, like it was angsty for quite a bit, but it was a little bit too prolonged. I wish they would have got together just a smidge sooner. But overall, this book was a solid read. It definitely deserved its 4 stars. Would I recommend it to a friend? Absolutely. I'll recommend it to you guys. I would totally read it. Just if you need that lighthearted read or like a good palate cleanser, this is it. So I really did enjoy it for that reason alone. The daughter in this her name is Hazel, and she was just chef's kiss. So adorable. I love Hazel. She is hearing impaired. So great disability rep in here. I absolutely love that for this book. The fact that he's a single dad. I mean, the whole thing was really great. So this was my 4th read of the month. I absolutely loved it. Thank you, Caitlin. My 5th read of the month is A Matter of Temptation by Cece Reed. This is also a part of the 12 Friend Book Challenge. This was recommended to me by Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. The premise is pretty much like our main heroine, Mina, is kind of destitute. Like, unfortunately for her, her father ended up putting her and her twin brother in a situation to where they are struggling for money. So her brother ends up going to this card game and cheating his way through the card game. But unfortunately, there was our main hero who was about to call her brother out on it. And Mina's brother decides to challenge Simon, our main hero, to a duel. And Mina's like, you are going to lose. You're going to lose this duel and then you're going to die. Like, you're not even supposed to be dueling at this point. So then Mina consorts with somebody in the household to like drug her brother, to take her brother's place in the duel. And she kind of inserts herself in the duel with our main hero. So then I don't want to tell you guys anymore. I mean, honestly, it goes from there. And let's just say the main heroine ends up getting employed by the main hero. And it just, honestly, plot was brilliant. Like, that's what I'm going to say about this plot. Rating on Goodreads, I mean, I gave it I put it 5 stars on Goodreads. I think I verbally wrote like 4.5 stars, but I think I'm going to take that away and just give it 5 stars. The problem is I love this book so much, but My Darling Duke and Scoundrel of Her Own are like my absolute favorite from her. And if a book doesn't quite meet that expectation, it always gets lower than a 5-star. But honestly though, if I took this book and like rated it against like a Sarah McLean or Tessa Dare, I feel like it would be just as good. So I feel like the 4.5 star was kind of maybe a little harsh. I think I'm going to just up it again to 5 stars. Would I recommend it to a friend? Absolutely. Like, go read this book. I thought it was really adorable. Like, the fact that she was working for him and some of the dialogue between them was absolutely adorable. I don't want to wreck any of the good parts because I feel like sometimes I'll say something and it'll be like, oh, I just wrecked that. I'm so sorry. Like, no, you guys go enjoy this. I highly recommend it. It was super cute. The start was everything and I really did enjoy this one. Okay, so you guys, this is book 6 and book 6 was The Winter King by C.L. Wilson. This one was also from the 12 Friend Book Challenge. This one was recommended to me by Avery, and her booktube channel is Ava's Romance Books. I was really excited to get this because, again, I love fantasy romance. I know Avery reads a lot of romance that I read. I know she likes Ruby Dixon. I know she likes Grace Draven. So I was really excited to kick into this one. Plot of this book. It's pretty much, we have our Winter King and he was really wronged by Summerlee's kingdom. Something happened to him that was just devastating. So now he went to war with them for 3 years and now he's riding into their kingdom to acquire peace. So one of the things he wanted to do was he kind of wanted vengeance for everything that happened to him in the past and all the wrongs that he had to endure. So the Winter King decided he wanted to take one of Summerlee King's beloved daughters. And for him, he thought that would actually injure the king himself. So he ended up arranging a marriage to one of Summerlee King's daughters. And it kind of goes from there. The Winter King has this ice heart that is slowly corrupting him, and it's kind of the race against time. I'd say the plot is phenomenal. The plot was awesome. I really did like the plot. I thought it was really good. I liked the premise of the book. Very original. I did love it for the fact that you could read this as a standalone, but it also is a book 2, but I'm kind of weary of book 2 because I've seen like hit or miss reviews on book 2. So if you wanted to continue with the series, you can. What I rated this on Goodreads was a solid 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. The only thing is that it did drag along in certain areas and it reiterated other things in certain areas. Like, they could have condensed it just a little bit in certain places because it was slower in certain places, but overall a solid read. Like, I really did enjoy this one a ton. Would I recommend this to a friend? Yes, I would. I would recommend this one to a friend. Absolutely. I think it was good. I think it's what a neat concept. It really was. I mean, I liked the arranged marriage. I mean, any time you put an arranged marriage in a book, it's hard for me to go wrong with that because I do really like a good arranged marriage. Onward and Upward, book 7. Hey guys, okay, so I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know what number book we on. I think it might be 7. I'm not sure. Just to let you know, so I'm just gonna say the next book from now on. But the next book we have is 1,000 Heartbeats by Kara Cass. Let's start with the plot. It is about our girl Annika, and she is a princess of this realm, and she has a father who was once loving, but now he ended up turning into kind of like a cold, heartless man. Because unfortunately for Annika, her mother had passed away and her father is not handling this loss very well. So her father decided to force her into an arranged marriage that she does not want, to help them have an alliance for their kingdom. Because apparently there's some threat out there that we don't really know about. And then we have our main hero, Lennox. And Lennox is from a smaller kingdom, I'd like to say, or smaller group. And he has been wrong, and his whole mentality is to get revenge. That's kind of the premise of this book. Now, what I would rate this book. I have to be real. The reason why I picked up this book, because Kara Cass has always been a favorite of mine. I mean, let's be real. I will swear by the Selection series through and through. I love this series so much. Honestly, if you have not read this series, please check it out. It's amazing. It reminds me a lot of Divergent and Hunger Games with the different fractions. But yeah, it's that put with the Bachelor, and you have the Selection, which is so good. Honestly, check them out. That is the whole reason why I gave 1,000 Heartbeats a go. I have to be real. The rating I ended up giving this was 3 stars. I felt like Kara Cass didn't do this one as much justice as it could have been. This could have been a 5-star read if she took a little bit more time with it. I think she rushed in certain areas. She didn't flesh out certain areas. Other areas, she kind of reiterated over and over and over again. The title, you know how the title, they kind of put it in the ending to wrap everything up of why they used that title. For her, she said it 4 or 5 times. So it kind of left the special meaning of the 1,000 Heartbeats. Something else I didn't really like is how the villain in the story, there was no really wrap up to that of pretty much what happened to him. So, I mean, with those things happening in this book, it really did fall short of my expectations. But I really did think the read was okay. There were some scenes in there that I thought were really cute. I really did like a cave scene in here. I thought was really, really good. But for the most part, would I recommend it to a friend? This probably would not be my first recommendation to a friend, just because I wanted more out of this. I feel bad for Kara Cass because I loved her Selection series so much. So if it doesn't meet that expectations of what I know she could write at, then yes, this would not be my first choice of recommendation. But that was 1,000 Heartbeats. Okay, you guys, this is totally impromptu. I was gonna do a full January wrap up, but when I started editing my video, I realized it was an hour long. So I'm going to break this up into 2 separate parts. So this is the first part. Second part should be out next week. I hope you guys liked this part of the wrap up. And until next time, guys, we'll talk soon. Bye.